They call Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. I call Minneapolis St. Paul the city of brother and sister love. Just going to leave that one there. I'm not going to quit my day job and go do Kill Tony or anything like that. Anyway, bombshell ICE sweep in Minneapolis St. Paul finds 50% of immigrants had committed immigration fraud. Is this surprising to anybody? Considering we're talking about the city of brother and sisterly love? You get the reference? You don't? Some of you do. Okay, for those that don't, Ilhan Omar, congresswoman from Minnesota, has been accused of marrying her gay brother to defraud immigration and allow him to come here. And I guess the story is that he's gay and his dad was worried. So he was like, I'm going to send him to Minnesota so he can be not gay. At least that's what some people have been spreading. I don't know, man. I don't know if she married her brother. Apparently people are saying it's like legit true and there's proof. Maybe. The Minnesota Star Tribune, not a conservative institution, said that she may have actually married her brother. Maybe. So when you hear that, you find out 50% of immigrants there had committed immigration fraud. It is about to get absolutely insane. So what's going to happen? ICE, CBP, the feds are going to come to Minneapolis and start voiding the immigration status of people who are here, quote unquote, legally. This is the game Democrats have been playing and the lies. Check this out from the New York Post. Nearly half of all immigrants in the Minneapolis-St. Paul Twin Cities were found to have committed some form of immigration fraud during a recent sweep by immigration authorities. Officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, visa overstay, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, forged documents, abuse of the H-1B visa system, abuse of the F-1 visa, and many other discrepancies. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph B. Edlow told reporters Tuesday. Officials didn't point to a specific group, but the Twin Cities has seen a massive uptick in Somali refugees and immigrants in recent years, with more than 82,000 from the East African country living in Minnesota. USCIS visited 1,000 homes across Minneapolis and St. Paul in the last 2 weeks and found nearly 50% of inhabitants were engaged in some form of immigration fraud. Our officers found indications of fraud, noncompliance, or public safety and national security concerns. What they found should shock all of America. The operation, dubbed Twin Shield and carried out with the help of ICE, began on September 13th and concluded this week, with Edlow calling it a success that could soon be repeated in cities across the country. This is the first of many, Edlow said. Any city should be prepared to be the site for an operation of this magnitude. Questions about the influx of migrants to the Twin Cities, particularly Somali migrants, have been in the national spotlight since claims emerged that liberal firebrand Rep. Ilhan Omar, a naturalized citizen from Somalia, married her own brother to get him U.S. citizenship. Omar has denied the reports, which originated in conservative blogs. Lies. That's fake news, New York Post. They originated in the Somali community on forums. That's my understanding. That's my understanding. When she was running for a state office in 2016, calling them false and ridiculous. It remains unclear how many people were detained in the recent federal operation. Officials would only disclose that multiple had been taken into custody, explaining that it was too early to give an accurate number. Now, my understanding is that she did legit marry some guy. He did then come to the U.S. The question is, I think the actual thing being challenged is, are they brother and sister? And that's what's being challenged. She did marry this guy. I think it's pretty obvious he's gay. I don't know. Who am I? Right? But the question then is, are they really related? And the argument is that the documents showing that their relation in Somalia have long been destroyed, damaged, or lost because of the constant state of civil war. The Twin Cities were chosen because the data showed as a hot spot for manipulation and misuse of the immigration system, officials said, with cases of marriage fraud found to be a particular problem. Dude, they are going after Ilhan Omar. This is what they're doing. In one incident, investigators encountered a Kenyan immigrant who paid just $100 for a fake death certificate in his wife's name so he could marry his way into the U.S. The trouble is, his wife was alive and well and found with their 5 kids in Minneapolis. Incidentally, he has another wife living in Sweden with whom he has an additional 3 children. Another migrant was found living in the Twin Cities, was the son of a known or suspected terrorist on the no-fly list, and had made numerous attempts to commit marriage fraud before being caught in the operation, according to the officials. He is now in custody for deportation. I'll tell you what I'd like to see. ICE, feds, and National Guard going into Minneapolis and arresting every single one of the people who broke the law. We are a nation of laws. You can't just break the law. A third person conned an elderly American woman into marriage. And while the bogus couple have since divorced, officials said she lives in fear of retaliation from the con man. I want the American people to know that we are declaring war on immigration fraud. We have a responsibility to keep the system legitimate. What has been uncovered by these diligent officers over the past 2 weeks, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Minnesota has sizable immigrant populations from countries like India, Vietnam, and Mexico, but its Somali residents have been a flashpoint for years. The first refugees from Horn of Africa started arriving in the 90s as Somalia descended into a violent civil war and famine. While most are law-abiding asylum seekers, former Hennepin County Sheriff Rich Stanek previously told Fox News 95% are good people who want to raise their families. A minority have caused an outsized negative impact with rampant crime and gang activity. Credit card fraud and burglaries have been chief among those crimes, while in some extreme cases, recruitment to overseas terror organizations like ISIS have been encountered. I would like to stress my opinion on the matter, now that we've made it this far. This whole operation, I think, stems from one thing. Donald Trump had recently made claims about Ilhan Omar potentially committing immigration fraud. I believe that he's, just put it simply, he's engaging his DHS in these operations. They are digging through this to try and find evidence that Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud. But I ask you this, my friends. What do you think happens if Trump actually deports some 40,000 people who are here on, let's just call it legal visas, fraudulently obtained? The Democrats are going to say they're lying. They're going to say the Republicans are now going after legal immigrants. And then you're going to say, no, they're illegal immigrants. They just used fraud. What happens if Donald Trump actually denaturalizes Ilhan Omar and deports her? She's a U.S. citizen. She was naturalized. However, you can have your citizenship revoked if you're a naturalized citizen who came here from a foreign land if you committed immigration fraud. Now, for those of us that were born here and were, born and raised, I believe Ilhan Omar's kid was born here too. They can't do that. The liberals are making this argument that they're going to go after U.S. citizens and all that. And it's like, yeah, actually. But the context matters. Should someone be entitled to citizenship if they defrauded their way? And let's put it like this. Let's shrink it down to try and give these liberals some context. Let's say that you had a roommate and you said, I'm looking for a roommate who won't be up at midnight, can afford to pay the $800 a month rent, and you can't smoke. And they say, oh, yeah, I go to bed early, don't smoke, and I can easily afford it. And then you say, okay, you can move in. They sign onto the lease. And then you find out a couple weeks later, they're smoking, they're chain smoking. They're up at midnight making loud noises. And you're like, hey, listen, you lied to me to move in here. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Well, they're on the lease now, right? I guess you have no choice. No, that's BS. You should be able to say, get out. You defrauded your way in. You knew the terms. Get out. A better way to put it is like you own a house and you're going to rent out a room and you say, here are the rules of the house. And they say, oh, yeah, of course. I qualify for all this and I'll abide by all the rules. And then they don't. Do they now just get to live there forever because they tricked you? Hey, man, you go ahead and live that way. And what we end up seeing in these cities, in New York and Chicago, squatters. And then these people are calling the police being like, a guy broke into my house and he lives there now. And the cops are like, okay, and? We'll get them out. No, they're tenants. They live there. There's some wild stories. Apparently what they do now is, this is crazy. They'll go to your house, like a house you live in, not your rental property. They will sign up. They'll go to like a utility or a phone company and they'll use your address. Then eventually mail will start coming to the house. And what happens when people receive mail to a house with a name they don't know? I don't know. They just ignore it, throw it away, put it in the junk mail pile. They'll go up to the house, wait for a package or a letter to arrive, take that from your mailbox, usually like an external mailbox, hold on to it in the middle of the night, or when you go to the grocery store, they break in, change the locks immediately. You come back, you go to the door, you can't open it, your keys don't work. You're like trying to figure out what's going on. Why aren't my keys working? Then you notice there's people inside and you go, what the is happening? You call the cops and you say, I just went to the grocery store. There's people in my house. They changed the locks. The cops say, what is going on? Then they go bang on the door. The person opens up and says, can I help you, officer? And they say, this person says they live here. And you go, I live here. And they say, well, no. This person says that they just went to the grocery store and came back and you're now in their home. You're burglarizing it. And they go, no, actually, I have mail right here. Look. They hand the letter to the officer, and it's dated 2 weeks ago. And they say, I've been living here for months. And the cop goes, civil matter. Can't help you. Goodbye. No joke. These things have happened. Wild. That's the world being created by this liberal bureaucracy. Do you want to live that way? By all means. If that's the city that you've made, that's what's happening. There was some woman in New York. She inherited a house. Her mom died. And then when she was trying to sell it, squatters moved in. And she couldn't get them out. She actually got arrested for assaulting them when trying to remove them. That's the psychotic world Democrats are building. I'd prefer the get the F out of my house or find out. Not in these major cities. So here's where we are right now. I don't care if it's a house, a state, a country, or otherwise. You break in and squat and spit in our faces, we throw you out. We will defend ourselves. I think Trump's going after Ilhan Omar. I'm going to leave it there. Smash a like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Stay tuned. More to come throughout the day. And we'll see you all in the next segment.